Dear old 3D printer is still at it. Since we got back from Whitby, it barely has stopped. It's incredible. So pleased because I've received so many orders for the gauge kits. It's fantastic. There's the original one that I put together and photographed, and that's still working beautifully. Not at the moment, but if I switch it on, it is. There are proof. There you are. And that's been running for days and days and days on one lot of batteries, which I'm very pleased about. Since I came up with the battery design, very quickly became apparent that people would like to have a way of connecting it to other voltages, other power supplies that they'd already got in their inventions. So I've introduced this as an option. It's a little circuit, a very clever little circuit, that will take anything between 4 and 12 volts and turn it into 3 volts. So you can choose whether you want a battery pack, such as this beautiful example here with a built-in switch, or one of these clever little circuits. And the 3D printer, as I say, has just been printing. So many, and I have had so many orders. I've sent the kits off to America, Denmark, Italy, all sorts of places. It's brilliant. And of course this country, I've had one or two issues with it, not surprisingly. One of them being that, obviously, if you're printing a huge load of stuff and you've realised you haven't got much fibre left, and you've spent, say, 12 or 15 hours printing a couple of the enclosures, and you know you're going to run out, you want some way of stopping it and changing the fibre. And sure enough, there's a pause button. So I pressed the pause button and it stopped and went back to 00, which is great. I pulled the remains of the old fibre out, pushed a new one in, and while I was doing that, the bed of the machine, this bit, suddenly jerked backwards a little bit, which was so annoying. Because it meant that, if we look at this one, this is one of the ones that it did, if you can see there is a lip. There you can see there's a lip just around the edge on one side, and the other side started printing on the inside, narrower, as you can see. So that meant it was ruined. Really, really annoying. I tried it a couple of times. Here's another example which went horribly wrong. There's already about 4 hours work in printing this, just to this height, because of the back being so thick. And this one, it's really more obvious. It started printing and overlapping really badly on one side and stringing across the other side. It was a real pain. But you live and learn. So in the end, I'll just get a new roll of fibre when it's running low. I can't afford to risk wasting that much time. Like I say, 2 of these originally took about 15 hours to print, because I had it on the lowest setting, the most detailed one, and they just took ages. What I was noticing though, and I do not like unpredictability with this sort of thing, I like everything to be very predictable. I was noticing, you can see on this one, just around the inside where the fixing clamp on the outside is, because this wool was so thin, it all started becoming fluffy, leaving little fluffy bits, which was really annoying, because I had to then get a scalpel and glass paper and sand and cut and trim them and things to get it all perfect again, which was an unnecessary step. So I thought, oh yeah, there was also sometimes, as with this one, you can see there's a funny sort of thin layer there and up here, which is just almost transparent. It's just not done it right, and that happened probably about 1 in 5, and again that's no good. So I thought I would try and make the outside, this bit, a little bit thicker by 0.5 millimetre. I thought, you know, why not push the boat out. So I made it 0.5 millimetre thicker by adding a new one that was 0.5 millimetre thicker, surprise surprise, just dropping it into it and merging it, and I am thrilled to bits, because every time it prints, and I've printed 8 of them so far with the new ones, and there's nothing on the inside adjacent to the little clamping brackets. Every single one is printed perfectly smoothly without any little broken bits. I'm thrilled to bits, it's really good. And I've also set the speed, so it was on 0.1 millimeters a layer, which is very slow, and I set it on to 0.15 millimeters a layer, and it's much faster. These now take about 3 hours each to print rather than 6 or something, and there's no loss in quality at all. I'm so pleased because it's making this a little bit more manageable. I coincidentally thought when I was looking up whether I needed to make this wider and I could just use the existing 1 millimeter thick one that was causing the problems, but use a different slicing software to slice it into the layers. So I thought I'd try the Microsoft one that comes with the suite of stuff that they provide you with, and loaded the drawing in. Lo and behold, obviously it can't just slice it and give you the file, the sliced file. You have to send it off and get it printed by Microsoft, nice little learner. And I looked down and it said a quote for printing one of these, £86. 86 quid. Could not believe it. I mean, I suppose if you have to watch it doing it, I don't know, but the nice thing about 3D printing is, yes, it does take a long time, but you don't have to sit there and watch it. You just leave it to get on with it. Whilst I was assembling one of the kits, I also noticed that the gear on the middle gear, so to speak, the central one, wasn't quite the right size. In that position, the outside of that and the outside of that tooth actually create friction. They don't fit right down into the teeth on this gear. Now, it doesn't matter on the kits I've sold so far. They work perfectly because I allowed enough of a gap between them, so it doesn't make any difference. But I don't like to leave things that I know aren't absolutely perfect. Lots of people think, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if a job needs doing, it needs doing right, or some such thing. So I thought, okay, somehow I'd increase the size of this inadvertently, only by a fraction. It's like 1/4 millimeter, but like I say, it wasn't absolutely perfect. So what I did, I went back to the CAD software, 2D design, 2D, and found the drawing of the gear I wanted, and turned it into a really large JPEG. No, it wasn't. I exported it as a really large bitmap. I blew it up on an empty A2 sheet, I think, up to as large as it would go. It really doesn't matter, just very big. So any small imperfections aren't noticeable. And saved that as a bitmap, so it didn't have any artifacts created by compression of images. And then imported that into the 3D builder, the free Microsoft software. So it was a huge gear. Well, so it was a huge shape. And then I inverted the selection so it became a 3D object, obviously far too big. And then the trick is to go back to 2D design, or the CAD software, and accurately measure the dimensions of the gear. If you've got an odd number of teeth and they don't quite line up to get an overall width, it doesn't matter. I just drew a line, a vertical line on 2 vertical lines, and just touched the left one up against the left side, right one up the right hand side, and measured the dimension across it. You don't have to measure more than one dimension, one is enough. And then on the 3D builder software, because it's very accurate, I think it's accurate up to quite a few decimal places, and I then input that. I locked the size adjustment, so all the dimensions would increase or decrease by the same amount, and then basically just put the new X value in that I'd got from the 2D design software, and it shrunk down, was the perfect size. And there weren't any imperfections in the teeth because I'd imported it really, really large. So by the time I'd shrunk it down, after it became a 3D object, what do you call it, a vector object, then it was perfect. I hope that will be of use to someone or other. So that was a bit of an eye-opener. So it's all going very well. I'm very pleased. And the wig arrived. To keep you updated with everything, here is Florence's sister that we don't talk about. She was a little bit of a prototype. Here's the wig that arrived. It's just far too big. I wanted to make the new Florence, I think I might call her Victoria, the new Victoria's head, or not the new Victoria, Victoria's head a little bit bigger, but not that much bigger. That's ridiculous. I mean, this head took, I think it was taking about 12-13 hours to print it. I don't want to make it that much bigger, so I am now back on the internet trying to find doll's wigs that I think are about 15 inches. You measure it, the circumference, around like this apparently, and I couldn't believe it. And I'm here and I couldn't believe it. The circumference of Florence's head is 11.5 inches. You would not believe it, really, would you? It just doesn't look like it would be that big. I would have said sort of 5 inches or something. Circles and circumferences are so strange. So I need to locate a source of doll's wigs that are about 15 inches, and I'm not sure about how I'd colour this anyway, because it's some sort of synthetic fibre and it looks far too glossy to actually be able to paint or to dye. So that's the stage we're at. I just want to get started with this. It's a really exciting project to make a bigger version with all the motors and the gubbins inside the head, and then just having a few wires coming out so you can control it remotely. But because you have to start somewhere, and I can dictate exactly how big I want everything else to be, the one unknown I've got is the hair. And I'm not very experienced with hair, having lost most of my own, so I really just want to buy a wig or buy hair and then work from that starting point. Lovely. Hopefully more news on Victoria shortly, but for now it's the printing and assembling these lovely kits. Brilliant. Well, assembling a kit, assembling the kit or something, I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope it was marginally interesting. Something with a bit more nitty-gritty next time with a bit of luck. Thanks very much, and remember, the gauges are available at steamhead.co.uk and my Etsy shop, which is Steamhead Inventions, and we are planning to be at the Chatham Steampunk Festival event, which is in April sometime. So it'll be very exciting to do an event which is down south, as we actually live down south, rather than travelling about as far north as you can get to Whitby. So that's very exciting. Looking forward to that. And I need to have a lot of these gauges ready for that event as well. Excellent. Thanks very much.